Two girls are stuck on top of a 2,000-foot tall tower. Their phones have no signal, so they can't call anyone for help. Worse, the tower stands in the middle of a vast desert, making it almost impossible for anyone to spot them. On top of that, if either of them tries to fall asleep, vultures swoop in and start pecking at them. Now the question is, how did they end up trapped on this tower? Becky, her husband Dan, and Hunter are climbing a towering cliff with barely any safety gear. Dan carefully tries to secure his rope safety hook into a small crack in the rock. Then suddenly, a bird explodes out of the hole. Startled, Dan flinches. His foot slips. He drops. The rope catches him, leaving him dangling in midair. Panicked, Dan scrambles to grab the rock, desperately trying to pull himself back up. His fingers claw at the stone, but he can't get a grip. Then the unthinkable happens. His safety hook loosens and snaps free. Dan falls. Becky watches helplessly as he plummets from the cliff, disappearing into the void below. He doesn't survive. 1 year later, Becky's life has completely fallen apart. She's become an alcoholic, drowning herself in grief. No matter what she does, she can't move on from Dan's death. Seeing his daughter like this breaks her father James's heart. He tries again and again to talk to her, to help her heal, but Becky shuts him out every time. She doesn't want comfort, she just wants to be left alone with her pain. Then one day, Hunter suddenly shows up at Becky's apartment. Trying to pull Becky out of her depression, she suggests something crazy, climbing an abandoned 2,000-foot tall TV tower, just like the old days. At first, Becky hesitates. She shakes her head and tells Hunter she's not ready. But the next morning, after a long night of thinking, Becky changes her mind and decides to climb the tower. They set off on their adventure. When they arrive, they find the gate leading to the tower locked tight. A large warning sign hangs on it. Entering beyond this point can be fatal, but neither of them pays attention. Ignoring the warning, Hunter and Becky leave their car outside the gate and continue on foot toward the tower. A little farther ahead, they spot several vultures tearing apart a dead animal. Hunter scares them off, then casually pulls out her phone and snaps a few pictures, posting them on social media. Within seconds, the likes start pouring in. The attention only fuels her excitement. Finally, they stand face to face with a massive structure, an old, rusty, 2,000-foot tall TV tower that looks dangerously unstable. The metal creaks in the wind, as if warning them to turn back, but they start climbing anyway. After a while, the two manage to get past the giant satellite dish and approach their destination, the very top of the tower. Hunter teases Becky by shaking the ladder as a joke. She doesn't realize the movement is loosening the screws holding it in place. After finally reaching the top, they start posing for reckless, high-risk photos, thousands of feet above the ground. Just as they prepare to climb down, Becky steps onto the first few rungs, and the remaining screws snap loose. The ladder starts shaking violently, then rips away from the tower. Becky plummets with the ladder, but fortunately, her safety rope catches her just in time. The sudden jolt almost drags Hunter down too, but she desperately clings to the tower. With sheer strength and effort, she slowly pulls Becky back up to safety. Hunter grips the rope as tightly as she can, desperately trying to pull Becky up, until her own foot suddenly slips. The sharp jolt sends Becky screaming in terror. Thankfully, Hunter regains her balance just in time. Working together, one pulling while the other climbs, Becky finally makes it back to the top, but the fall has injured her leg. Before they can even catch their breath, they realize something far worse. They look down and freeze in horror. The entire ladder snaps off and crashes to the ground below. Worse, their bag, containing their water and drone, falls too, getting snagged on a satellite dish far beneath them. The rest of the ladder is completely gone, leaving them stranded at the top of the tower. Hunter quickly pulls out her phone to call for help, but things only get worse. There's no signal at that height. Now they're trapped on an abandoned TV tower, 2,000 feet in the air, with no ladder, no supplies, and absolutely no way down. Becky and Hunter spot an emergency box attached to the tower. Inside, they find a pair of binoculars and a flare gun. Hunter raises the binoculars and scans the area. In the distance, she spots an RV parked nearby. Becky grabs the flare gun, ready to signal for help, but Hunter quickly stops her. The sun is still too bright. Any flare fired now would be nearly impossible to see. Hunter guesses that whoever is in the RV is probably camping and isn't going anywhere soon. Reluctantly, Becky agrees to wait. For now, they come up with a plan, thinking there must be a signal somewhere lower down the tower. Hunter quickly types out a rescue message, ties her phone to a rope, and slowly lowers it down the tower. But the rope isn't long enough. Determined, Hunter makes a risky decision. She climbs out of the safety cage and inches down the broken ladder frame, dangling freely in the open air, 2,000 feet above the ground. Still no signal. Desperate, she stretches farther, letting go with one hand to drop the phone just a little lower. Hunter's strength is fading, her arms trembling, but still nothing. With no other options, she climbs back up to the safety of the top. Then they remember something crucial. Earlier at the base of the tower, Hunter had been able to upload photos to social media. That meant there was signal down at ground level. An idea sparks in Becky's mind. Why not send the phone all the way down? Hunter nods in agreement. She slips the phone into her shoe, then carefully removes her bra and wraps it around the phone for padding. With a deep breath, they toss the shoe off the tower, praying the makeshift protection will keep the phone from shattering. Hours pass, no rescue arrives. It becomes clear. The phone must have shattered on impact. Just when all hope seems lost, Hunter spots movement at the base of the tower through her binoculars. The girls erupt with excitement, screaming for help at the top of their lungs, but they're far too high up. Their voices don't carry. Even worse, the man starts walking away. In a panic, Becky rips off her shoe and hurls it toward the ground. It hits with a thud, but the man doesn't notice. Frustrated, she throws the other one. This time it clangs loudly against a metal beam. The man finally stops. He looks around, picks up the shoe, but never glances upward. Seeing no one nearby, he casually tosses it aside and continues walking. The girls stare in disbelief, completely devastated. As night falls, they fire the flare gun into the sky and wave their phone's flashlight, signaling as brightly as possible. Luckily, two men spot them. Hunter and Becky erupt with relief. Finally, they think help has arrived. They watch as the men drive toward the area where their car is parked. But their hope is brutally short-lived. Instead of rescuing them, the men break into Becky's car, steal it, and speed away, leaving the two women stranded once again. Later that night, Becky watches her wedding video on her phone. In the footage, she notices Hunter in the background, staring blankly, her face heartbreakingly distant, while Becky and Dan dance together. Then Becky spots something that makes her heart stop, a tattoo on Hunter's ankle that reads 143. The meaning hits her instantly. Becky turns to Hunter. "How long were you and Dan having an affair?" she asks. Dan had used 143 as their secret code for "I love you." Hunter's voice cracks as she admits the truth. "Yes," she says softly. "Dan and we had an affair. It lasted about 4 months. Please forgive me." The next morning, we see both of them sitting in silence, devastated and weak. They've realized by now that the phone they threw down must have broken completely, since no help has come. Hungry, dehydrated, and desperate, Hunter decides to take a huge risk. She tells Becky, "I'll go down to the satellite dish and grab our bag. It has water and the drone. I can do it using the safety rope." The rope is too short, so Hunter takes an even bigger risk. She lets go of the rope and jumps toward the dish. Miraculously, she makes it. She drinks a little water, regaining some strength. Then, using her selfie stick, she attaches the bag to the rope so Becky can pull it up. But to hold the rope again, Hunter has to jump back from the satellite dish. Summoning all her courage, Hunter jumps and manages to grab the rope just in time. Hunter begins climbing back up using the rope, while Becky holds it tightly from above to help her. Hunter is almost at the top when suddenly her foot slips and she falls. Becky gasps, terrified, thinking Hunter has fallen all the way down to her death. She leans over and looks below, and to her relief, sees that Hunter managed to grab the rope. Her hands are scraped and bleeding, but she's still alive. Becky pulls with all her strength and finally manages to bring Hunter back up. Once Hunter is back on the platform, Becky takes a bottle of water from the bag and drinks it, feeling a small wave of relief. Next, Becky writes a help message, attaches it to the drone, and sends the drone flying toward the nearby road. But the battery starts dying, so just before it crashes, she recalls it back. That night, she sees a small light bulb glowing on top of the tower, and an idea strikes her. She can use that bulb's power to charge the drone. The next morning, Becky bravely climbs to the very tip of the tower to reach the bulb. Hunter keeps cheering her on from below. After a terrifying climb, Becky finally reaches the top, unscrews the bulb, and tries to plug the drone's charger into the socket. But the plug can't quite reach. Thinking fast, she removes her wedding ring and uses it to bridge the gap, completing the circuit so the drone can charge. It will take time to charge, so Becky hangs onto the tower, dangling there. Then the smell of her leg wound attracts vultures. They begin attacking her, clawing and pecking. In the struggle, her bag slips and falls. After a fierce fight, Becky manages to drive the vultures away and climbs back down to where Hunter's waiting. The drone is charged now. She loads another help message and sends it toward the motel. The drone is almost there, flying over the road, when suddenly a passing truck smashes into it. The drone shatters to pieces. The truck driver stops, gets out to see what happened, but doesn't notice the wrecked drone on the road. Becky's final hope is crushed. By now, she's weak from hunger and thirst. She asks Hunter, "Give me your shoe. I'll put my phone inside and throw it down again." But Hunter replies, "I can't. My shoe is down there, on the satellite dish." And here, the shocking truth is revealed. The Hunter Becky has been talking to for hours isn't real. She's a hallucination. In reality, when Hunter was returning from the satellite dish with the bag, she lost her grip on the rope and fell, dying instantly on the dish below. Becky had only pulled up the bag, not Hunter. Her mind had created the illusion of Hunter's presence because she couldn't accept being completely alone. When the truth sinks in, Becky breaks down. She cries uncontrollably. She's exhausted, hopeless, and certain she won't survive. Believing this is the end, Becky records an emotional voice message for her father. "Dad, I want to live. I want to come home, but I can't do this. You were right about everything. I'm sorry. I love you, Dad." Meanwhile, her father, James, keeps calling and messaging her, unaware of what's happening. That night, Becky faces a violent storm on the tower. Cold, starving, and in pain, she somehow survives the night. The next morning, a vulture lands beside her and starts pecking at her wounded leg. In a sudden burst of willpower, Becky grabs the bird by the neck, slams it against the metal, kills it, and eats its raw flesh to survive. After regaining a bit of strength, she decides to make one final attempt to escape. Using the rope, Becky climbs down toward the satellite dish. After a tense struggle, she finally reaches it. She types a help message on her phone, then places the phone inside one of Hunter's shoes. With tears in her eyes, she gently puts the shoe and Hunter's body together and pushes them off the tower, letting them fall. It's her final, desperate act of hope. In the next scene, we see Becky's father, James, driving toward the tower. Rescue teams are already there. They've found Becky alive. James runs to her, overwhelmed with emotion. Becky, weak but alive, embraces her father tightly. They hold each other, crying with relief, and with that, the film ends.